For Crumpet, you've got Pix and Combeck. Pix just set up on one side, more towards the south before Crumpet, just trying to see if he can sneak in. A little wiggle peek here and there. Prism and Casper, just the primary targets for all these teams in the surrounding area. And Pix, he's just looking to break into Prism's cone, but finally Prism gonna be able to separate to the bottom layer, and Casper, Prism, they're actually managing to turn this one around. That initial elimination onto Combeck is gonna send them packing. Pix knows he can no longer stick around, but where one team leaves, another one just throws themselves right into the fray. But they think better of it. They realize, Chat Flixie, they've also chosen to collapse here, but they know who's been eliminated once already, and they want to see if they can do it again. Combeck just trying to escape. Flixie looking to capitalize on this opportunity, but he's got to wait for Chap now to just get these last couple of blows in. Flixie will get credit for the knock, soon the elimination here. Pix nearly took down Flixie along the way, though. He just did not care about closing off his back tarp. Really expected Pix to put up less of a fight there.
I mean, Pix and Combeck, I feel bad. They've been on the run the whole day. It's just a repeat every single match of this engagement at Fort Crumpet. And I mean, finally, those teams in the surrounding areas are starting to really capitalize on it now, but it just makes it that much more difficult for Pix and Combeck. And coming back from this, I mean, it's gonna be really rough.
They're not the only ones, though. Vexy, Snozq, Momsy, Sato, alone, Vico. He needs to reunite with Malabuka, and he's got to do it fast. Just tried to see if he could straggle on over towards Lockdown Lighthouse, but a little bit more than what he bargained for. As Malabuka is still doing what he can. Grenade launcher definitely causing a lot of chaos here towards Sato and Momsy. But Sato and Momsy, they're in a place right now, Takata, where they cannot afford an early elimination to drag this one out, make it much less appealing to Malabuka and Vico. If they just clearly indicate, like, hey, we don't have to fight you, we have no intentions of forcing this fight against you, and if you want more eliminations, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. But they're just not that healthy. No white heals for Momsy and Sato, so they'll be forced to retreat into the storm itself.
Yeah, very good call from them, especially being just a little over 10 points away from that top 3 qualifying range. Quick, Nidro, on the other hand, a little bit further, but hey, a quick beam onto Vico here could be what it takes.
Vico, so unsuspecting. Patience is a virtue right now, though, for Twek and Nidro. Might have been Malabuka who was the more appealing target. Wanted to give Vico an opportunity to get a little bit further ahead, or they might just be opting to just stay completely out of vision, completely out of the picture. I mean, when you think about first 2 lobbies, victory royales, you're having crazy levels of success, and the next thing you know, it's like they put a bullseye right on their backs because every single other team in the lobby just seemed very interested in that initial split that Twek and Nidro were claiming stakes to. So sometimes it is better to just stay out of the picture.
If you're Sky and Scroll, though, this is exactly how you want to be playing right now. We've seen them do it throughout the whole day. They're not looking for fights early on. They're just setting themselves up for endgame. They don't really care about these early eliminations, and especially now comfortably sitting in first place. All they need to do is maintain it for these final 2 matches of the day.
Ooh, that exotic in the hands of Sharkatini, though, is definitely scary. Chino, Pablo, striking early. Josh will be in elimination. They can claim rights too, but Malabuka now in a little bit of a pickle here. Vexy might have gotten himself stuck in the mix too, though. Because Vico likely gonna get the alert soon enough from his idea that he needs to maybe provide a little bit of backup here. Malabuka is still content, though. Might not have actually been spotted out in that circumstance. All these other teams just waiting for their opportunities to actually move further into the zone.
And they're definitely going to take them. Pablo Chino going into this game in 2nd place. They've had the rivalry with Sky and Scroll, as now they actually head closer to where they are positioned on the map. Hopefully without anyone seeing them. Minori Darkos, on the other hand, they're in a bit of trouble now, but still one of the top contenders for that qualifying range.
Could be better, could be worse. Ultimately, loadout's not looking awful by any stretch of the imagination. This is definitely a position that they can look to try and give a little bit of pushback to the rest of the lobby on. But main thing that I've really noticed with teams like, oh, hold that thought though, Chat, Flixie, Casper, Prism, Chat and Flixie ready to continue this conversation that they sort of started over by Fort Crumpet. Flixie, Chat, 4 eliminations already. Some of those largely credit to the fact that they were taking advantage of just barreling down onto Pix and Combat. Big shot now onto Prism. He'll be forced to try and disengage, but he's got nowhere left to run. Just cut off every single angle. A great collapse there by Flixie and Chap. And they just want to keep things moving. They aren't going to waste any time. They got exactly what they were after. I mean, 5 eliminations is huge. The level ups even for the Morphite on shotgun here. And Happy Lusha, they recognize this is not the place we want to be in right now. We're just going to leave Prism and Casper to deal with those two.
Sato Momsy choosing to kind of stay in the storm here alongside Sky and Scroll. You can see the safety that a lot of these top teams are kind of alluding towards at the moment. They don't really want to put themselves in any risky position, and you can see even with the quick stat that Sky and Scroll are the most efficient fighters in the lobby.
And another reason too, I think they've been having so much success is because when you even look at their high ground metrics, they spent about 5 minutes playing these endgames from height. Oh man, it is just absolute catastrophe here for Casper and Prism. They just cannot catch a break. And this is also a worst case scenario for some of our other leading teams on the leaderboard, because you're just seeing Flixie, Chap, non-stop in this elimination feed. I mean, 7 elims already collected just because of the action that took place inside of Fort Crumpet.
Doesn't even look like they're done yet. Prism's still trying to do what he can to get away. Shark and Teeny could be using a little slurp bait. But these players are more experienced to take a slurp by a fully built metal structure. As now the rotate comes through.
The unstable yoink in Shark's hands though. I can't stress it enough. I am really excited but also concerned for the rest of the lobby once they start actually throwing themselves into some of these mid to end game fights, because there's a lot of power up potential there. And for a player like Shark especially, where if he finds one, you know that there's going to usually be 2, 3, possibly even 4 right after the fact. And it can just get so messy depending on how some of these teams choose to respond. But Vico, Malabuka, they've got 6 eliminations. Whether or not they can actually scrape into that top 3, I think mathematically it's a very difficult thing to consider, but the prize pool is still on the line for everyone else. And Malabuka, that was a big connection that he needed to defend his position currently at Slurpee.
Yeah, I mean, not only do you get a qualifying spot, first place is 30K, 20K for second, 14K for third. Big prize pool these players are competing for, but you know, a lot of them just really also want that land qual spot. Majo Twek being one of the duos that have a good shot at it. If they can get one more win, complete the hat trick, it could put them into a position to make it happen in the last game.
Their intentions just seem to be set though on continuing to make cool, calm, collected decisions that can transition them into a solid endgame finish. Shark, Teeny, edge of zone for the time being, but they have got a stacked loadout between the two of them. We haven't really seen too many instances either of players being able to utilize exotics. God, I think that Shark's actually the first one that I've got a glimpse of here today. Vico, worst possible outcome. Malabuka just barely managed going to rebooting in time, but Vico's just trying to build some space. Malabuka picked off from the sky, doesn't even get a chance to land down. And he knows that unless Vico can create a little bit of space here and play for the revive, he is not going to be brought back into this one. Reboots have been disabled. Darm and Deemish They know just how weak, they know just how tempting it is too for Vico to just jump across, try and save his duo, but they're just holding fast. They are not gonna let him go.
I mean, worst case, he has to solo clutch it and gets good practice as a solo for the tournament he's got with Reese. Best case, he revives Malibuka, but Malibuka has gone down. Flixie Chap now 8 eliminations on the board. They can't afford getting eliminated before the placements come through. They've done so well already securing themselves these amount of eliminations. Now all that's left is to close it out with a good placement here. Chino, Pablo, though, do not want to let that happen.
Chino and Pablo have definitely stepped it up a notch too. Every single lobby, it just feels like they're scarier than the one before. They have been tearing through a lot of these endgame circumstances, and Sky, Scroll, credited with the elimination onto Vico. I'll make sure to drop down, grab the body loot in no time at all. Decent amount of material is going to be sent their way. Chat Flixie still playing towards the opposite end of where Sky and Scroll are currently based up. But Nori, Darkos, done a great job at finding a somewhat isolated spot. It's not easy to do. Everybody's starting to collapse in on each other. The lobby begins to cannibalize itself. Shark, Teeny just trying to stay overhead. We know that they like to go for height, but they have been using a lot of materials, a lot of what they have to offer here. Chino getting lobby focus, and he'll be brought down to the pressure. Pablo just has to sit in horror. He knows there's nothing he can do except play his own life from this point forward.
This is where the chaos unfolds. Pablo is put into panic as he's lost his teammate. 24 builds to work with, as now they're forced to make something happen. Lusha, Mappy, they have the height, but are they even gonna try and hold it this early on? It looks like they won it. They need a huge game if they want to have a chance to compete at the top 3. With only 1 elimination on the board, they're gonna need a lot more.
Pink and it is. Playing with that secondary high. Pablo all the way down in the dirt, just trying to stay as far back from the backside of zone. But plenty of other players kind of looking to see. They know that there's going to be some scuffed solos. 3 HP, but he converts it. A big elimination now. Worst case scenario for Deemish. Darm, don't know where he's at, but the fact of the matter is, Pablo finding that shot could be the ultimate extension of his run here in this game.
Huge bailout from Pablo. Sky and Scroll still up as a duo, as Pablo's doing everything in his might to clutch it as a solo with only 1 build left. He pops the flow berry, but shots get connected onto him. He finds a little med mist. The Sky goes down as well. Scroll's left with only 20 HP, trying to do what he can. Is he actually going to be able to pick up his teammate? Pablo somehow still up and running.
It's just so tempting when the revives are just so much faster in reload. It's too easy. And Scroll even going to be able to steal away different players' knocked body. But now Scroll's going to find himself getting knocked in the mix. It's all up to Sky. Scroll's been fully eliminated. He still has a med kit to play through. But Pablo, 0 builds yet again. Can he find another miracle shot? And the answer is no. Sadly, he's been shut down here. But Shark, Teeny, they've just been waiting for their opportunity. Sky gonna try to go for the high ground, but he gets shockwave too far back. He's not gonna actually get a chance. His last crash pad gonna send him back into the safety of zone, but there's just so much mayhem unfolding around him. Pink now trying to challenge for the high ground, and Sky just hoping that nobody notices where he's currently based up. He doesn't have much material left. He needs to find a huge conversion here. He needs an elimination.
He might have seen it, though. He's looking for a solo. He does not want to take the 2v1. He wants to get that big refresh. Shark Contini, though, incredible job staying ahead as Sky now connects the first one. Can he finish the knockoff? He can, but he goes down shortly after, as now Twek once again up in the clouds.
This is exactly what Twek and Midra needed. They had so much success to start the day. Tapered off ever so slightly, but now Twek spots his opportunity, sees Flixie trying to escape, it's not gonna allow him to do so. Shark and Teeny. Shark ready to brawl with anybody that comes their way. They're looking to make an absolute run here, controlling low ground. And it's gonna be difficult. Twek just trying to see if he can bring himself a little bit closer to the action, still trying to apply as much pressure as he can. If he gets chopped, it's fine. He still has that crash pad, but it's all Teeny and Shark here to try and control the scenes down below. Minori running, trying to see if he can keep one more life, but it's just not going to be enough. Teeny and Shark have no issues whatsoever. They are just picking off these solos like flies in the low ground.
Doing everything in their power to hold on to that top 3. They want to take over the crown in first place, and they have everything to do it. As the shots connect, Twek fully crapped now down below, as Teeny is going to be able to retake the high ground. Twek goes down, Wavy as well, Shark and Teeny looking absolutely lethal as they overthrow height and drop down for even extra eliminations. Josh now doing what he can to stay up. He's got some shields, but no heals to close this one out. A 2v1. Josh needs to make a power play to win this.
Josh nearly finds Teeny, but unfortunately now that's going to key in Shark to where this last player is at. And Josh, he's trying to see if he can just keep it rolling one more time. Maybe a little bit of a slip up here and there. All depends. Shark now being a little bit more cautious with how he chooses to proceed. Only one build remains, but it's just too much pressure to handle. Shark and Teeny finding their victory royale here in Game 7. We were all curious if they were actually going to be able to find one in this sequence of lobbies here today, Takada, but they've done it.
They've finally done it. They tried time and time again to secure high ground, and they have completed it. So let's head over the desk and see how it shakes things up.
Thank you so much, guys. This duo was already in contention for a spot at the championships, but now they've pretty much cemented it with a victory royale. It was very high earned. And again, it was just a masterclass from this duo. The chemistry is clearly there. Shark knows he's the attack dog for this duo, and Teeny is the guarantee, Reese.
Absolutely, and you know, a lot of that was basically allowed because all of our other top teams are playing as solos for the most of the game. Like, this is one of the matches for the end game where I'm watching Shark and TD, and they've been together for the entire time. Like, their end games have honestly been very messy up until this point. So to see them stick together and have such good synergy this late into the tournament is really nice.
Yeah, I think the big thing with these guys is when both of them come knocking at your door, like, it's just so hard to really answer. And Shark's been playing amazingly today. We, were talking a bunch about how he has been, such a key player for this duo in this year. But, it was coming. Taco mentioned, like, we were all asking the question, when's it going to come? It was going to come, right? They kept having these games where they were marauding around the mid-ground and causing people problems. Eventually, you give yourself a fighting chance and they get the win here.
Yeah, and I think, like, their playstyle is just so aggressive, right? Like, when you have someone like Shark who is so mechanical, you want to use him, You don't want to put him in a surge tower in FNCS, or like, that's just cruel. You want to let him off the leash and go crazy. But at the end of the day, like, that is still a risky play. So that's why we've seen so many solo clutches from them up to this point. So now that it's actually worked, it's looking really good.
Well, speaking of solo clutches, Reese, there were a lot of solos in that endgame. We'll talk more about those after this break. We just had a fascinating Game 7 because so many of our big duos ended up as solos. And it was particularly interesting to see that happen to Pablo and Chino, Reese, because actually their mid-game was looking really impressive.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They're doing a strategy that we've seen a lot of teams do so far, which is stay deep into the storm, hit a launch pad, and then land in the fifth zone, as you can see right here. Right? The Fizz super launch pad takes you basically the entire distance across the map. As I already mentioned, it is small. So they actually choose a relatively good spot here. The problem with this strategy, as you notice, as they're doing that, they had 150 builds each, capped materials. But once they land and they get into a spot like that, they're landing late, and everyone starts to end up looking at them much later on. So they actually ended up draining between the fifth and the sixth zone around 100 builds each. So you can see the skip to the 8th here, almost nothing left to their name at this point, which makes Chino go down. Now what's interesting about this Chino going down here is their top 15. Now Pablo solo clutches, I think, for another 2, maybe even 3 zones by himself. He's 3 HP at this point, gets the elimination, right? He does all of this work, he goes crazy, top 3 solo clutch we've seen so far. But he gets 0 placement points out of this. It was 2 zones, that's what it is. Because placement points start kicking in once you're in the top 12. So basically 2-3 minutes by himself, and I ended up getting nothing out of it.
And if you,
I was really worried for a second. You were hyping it up there. The clutch, I was about to say, really, you didn't even get any placement points out of it. But yeah,
it's just brutal.
You around, so yeah. Like it is a cruel game we have there.
but then when you look at Sky and Scroll, Sky was also left as a solo clutcher, but he was actually able to pick up some all-important points for his team race.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is he almost was not the solo clutcher, because Scroll was the solo clutcher at one point. He got this elimination here, this refresh, got enough to cam materials, and then Scroll ended up going down, and he got the revive onto him, and then he picked him up. So it's like they swapped roles in the way that they were solo clutching afterwards. The big difference between the way Sky and Scroll played with that, and then Chino and Pablo ended up doing it, was the fact that he ended up solo clutching up to a top 9. So he had 2 solo clutches, one got nothing out of it, and the other managed to make it deep into endgame, which is drastic different points now for the leaderboard.
Let's talk about then Sky and Scroll and Teeny and Shark, because finally we got to see Teeny and Shark actually pull off the victory royale. The promise was there the whole of the broadcast so far, but when we compare those to Sky and Scroll, who do you think has got the edge right now? Who's going to be qualifying in that #1 spot, Lemon?
Oh, it's a tough one. I think both of these teams have been, very consistent. I think maybe you'd have to give the edge to Teeny and Shark, right? As far as just what they've been able to make out of their games, even when things have been messy, right? Just those fine margins, keeping them kicking in the game. I think right now these guys are in a close game.
It's interesting because you look at the stats and they're very similar between the two teams, yet the gameplay seems so different. You've got Shark and Teeny, who seems kind of messy, whereas Sky and Scroll seem just so locked in. So going into the final game, I'm interested to see who can take it out in first place.
Well, let's talk about Flixie and Chat, please, because yes, they didn't have the best end game, but they had a fantastic start at Fort Crumpet. They basically farmed 7 eliminations, 11, which is really what they need to do to get those all-important placement points out, elimination points to get up the leaderboard.
Yeah, this is the type of thing, I think we were expecting to see them do, right? Be a menace to all the teams in that Fort Crumpet.